for Zoom, and now they'll begin to come in.
Welcome.
Right. Welcome, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. The full list of attendees is like going bloop, 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 bloop. There's some, I see Adria Dawn. Hello, Adria.
And here's Miss Heather Jenks. I saw Heather Jenks on Saturday in a Zoom production of Stupid Fucking Bird.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And they did such a great job using the technology and really keeping everyone really engaged. Even in the intermission, they did cool stuff. It was really a great example of like playing with the technology and making something happen. It was really, really enjoyable.
You know, I see Camille Robinson on there, and hello, Camille. Camille and I worked together in Wisconsin doing Ghost, the musical, and I played the Puerto Rican that killed Patrick Swayze. It was so much fun. And Camille recently just did a reading of the wonderful play His Shadow by Loy Webb. It's based on athletes protesting for Black Lives Matter. And it's a really beautiful play. And congratulations, Camille, and welcome all these beautiful people. Who else do we have here? Tamara. Oh my God, Tim Amos, Factory, what up? Hello. And I'm sure we're gonna have a bunch of people from the dance world coming as well. Iega, Emily Stein asked me about coming to see it. And there's a bunch of people. Oh, Tarina Bradshaw says hello, Iega.
Hey, Tarina.
Yay, look it. Oh, there's so many wonderful. Oh, and there's the chat's exploding right now. Oh. Awesome.
I'm
Yay.
working a lot, so.
This is so great.
Well, terrific. All right, we have a bunch of our audience here. It's 6:04. I'm going to begin.
Da-da-da.
Da-da-da-da. Welcome. Hello, I'm Rachel Patterson. I'm the director of Acting Studio Chicago. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the 11th episode in the ASC webinar series. The lovely Adria Dawn, who has been hosting the Jammy Jams, has stepped away for a few weeks. And Esteban Andreas Cruz, who you can see on your screen. And if you were here last Monday, you met or watched Esteban as they spoke with Adria. Esty is taking over for 4 weeks, and we're calling these episodes The Arts and Esty. So I am delighted to kick it off tonight with the wonderful Kevin Iega Jeff of Deeply Rooted Dance Theater. Esty, I will let you take it over. I'll stay for a moment because I am the technician who's going to play a video. So you take it away there for a moment, please.
Thank you so much. And yes, we are so delighted to have a dear friend of mine, a mentor of mine, and somebody who's like my father in the arts, Kevin Iega Jeff. And though I know him very well, there's so much that he's done that it's going to be strap in, because this resume goes on for decades. Okay, so he trained at the Bernice Johnson Cultural Arts Center, New York City's High School for the Performing Arts, Darvish Ballet School, and the Alvin Ailey American Dance Center before going into Juilliard. And at the age of 21, we were talking about manifesting work last week. He founded his own company called Jubilation Dance Company in New York. And Jubilation was created out of the need to provide a forum for African-American artists to be nurtured holistically through the arts. A forum for African-American artists to be nurtured holistically through the arts. Dun, 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 there's a seed there. Watch it grow. It's throughout this man's career, and it's very exciting. I'm very grateful to be a part of it. The company toured nationally and internationally, helping bring the stories, histories, and art of the African-American people, as well as his unique approach to contemporary dance, to a global audience. While continuing to perform as a dancer, it was at Jubilation that Iega began his lifelong pursuit of both choreographing new work and directing a company that would train a new generation of dancers and choreographers. So in '94, Iega was brought to the mission, the divine mission of coming to Chicago and took over Joseph Holmes Chicago Dance Theater, which back in the day was like the Hubbard Street of our time when we had dance before COVID. And he took over, and in that transition, that's where I came in. And I was a scholarship student in the Chance to Dance program. The first from Cicero, Illinois, from outside the city limits of Chicago, and got a full ride to dance at Joseph Holmes, which then turned the next year into Deeply Rooted Productions. And in the same way, it was created as a place to nurture the new generation of artists, as well as putting out excellent dance, concert dance, rooted in the African-American tradition and history of story. And then his work also, in addition to the work at Deeply Rooted, as a choreographer, Iega's work has been showcased around the world. In Chicago, we've seen him at River North. We've seen him with the Alvin Ailey Dance Ensemble, Dallas Black Theater, the Cleveland Contemporary Dance Theater, Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, Williams Henry Dance Theater. And in 2005, Iega was named as one of Juilliard's 100 outstanding alumni in celebration of the school's centennial anniversary. He's been on the awards from the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Council of Culture and Arts, the Bata Best Choreography Award for Church of Nations. Google that, Church of Nations. When we were kids in the program, that dance, we all wanted to be in that dance. And it's so Graham. There's so many contractions. It's beautiful. And it's a lovely metaphor for global, what we're going through right now, actually. He received a Merit Award from the International Association of Blacks in Dance and joined their board in January 2016. In 2009, he became part of the Chicago Dance Makers Forum grant to support the creation of I Am Deeply Rooted, which premiered in the spring of 2010. Iega served as the artist in residence at Howard University, University of Las Vegas, Goucher College, SUNY Purchase, and Purdue University's Black Cultural Center. His work has been featured in several films, including Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. Anybody heard of that before? Yeah, I have. And in Broadway shows coming Uptown and The Wiz. Iega's Walls premiered at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2003, Iega and Deeply Rooted Dance Theater Associate Artist Director Gary Abbott, hi Gary, co-choreographed Jagged Ledges, featuring Tony Award-winning spoken word artist Stacey Ann Chin. In 2006, he and Abbott were commissioned to choreograph 3 Brazilian dances for the Chicago Sinfonietta, which premiered at Chicago Symphony's Hall. As Iega reflects, oh, and this is something beautiful that Iega has said before, and I quote you, Iega, I want my work to grow truer, more focused, and relevant over time. My art is born out of human examination, and my desire to communicate authentically informs what I create. For me, dance is a perfect catalyst. It reveals the inner voice, reflecting who we are and who we strive to become. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome Kevin Iega Jeff to our webinar series, The Arts with Esty. Thank you so much for being here, Kevin.
My pleasure. I love you, Esty. That's a long.
I didn't even read all of it. There's so much. And I could totally go off script and just speak your praises for days and days and days. But what I think I want to do right now is just shift gears a little bit and show a piece, we have a little excerpt, a little trailer of the piece Goshen, which you were working on just before the pandemic hit. So Rachel, our technical guru here, is going to set this up and we'll give everybody a little taste of your work in Goshen. Yay!
Wow.
Thank you, Rachel.
Wow.
Yay, I love those people. Yay.
Yes.
Amazing.
Let me tell you a little bit about what that is.
I'm going to go watch, enjoy, have a great conversation.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
It was gorgeous, gorgeous. And I know that it was a collaboration with a choir. Who was the choir that's performing live in that?
Well, what it is, it's actually a composer. His name is Donald Lawrence, and he's renowned. He's a renowned gospel artist, but he also is renowned for his soul. He does a plethora of things. He's an incredible musician. He just got through doing the Clark Sisters movie. He scored the Clark Sisters movie for Netflix, I think it was on.
Wow.
And it did very well. He has had an illustrious career. And he reached out to Deeply Rooted and said, hey, you guys are really great, and I think that we should work together. And I have this album called Goshen, and I'd like for you to create a theatrical dance evening to the album, and I'll score it so that it actually becomes a scored show. So what you saw there is just the workshop.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was the workshop performance that occurred last December. And following the workshop, we were scheduled to go into rehearsals we would have begun rehearsals in April to May, and then we would have premiered the work in late May at the Broadway Playhouse in Chicago.
Right.
The work would have been premiered with brand new costumes, an incredibly beautiful set. The set that we have in mind for the production, that was designed for the production, is just absolutely stunning. And it just would have, we presented about 45 minutes of it last December, but the full show is about 90 minutes. But now we'll have to wait because Miss COVID came along.
Miss Rona, what are you doing, Miss Rona? Why you gotta ruin everything?
Miss Rona, that's right, you know.
Well, you know, this is such a really, really, and I'm so sorry about that. And, you know, not only have I been part of the family, but I'm also a huge fan of the work of Deeply Rooted and what we've been doing for years. And I think the last show I got to see was when I worked I think I was selling T-shirts maybe 3 years ago. Was it two or 3 years ago? Where was it? On the South Side. That was a beautiful program, a really lovely program, and I'm so excited. I'm so brokenhearted that this didn't get to continue. But from what I understand, it is reslated as part of Broadway in Chicago for the 2021-22 season. Is that correct?
Well,
okay, great.
Not officially yet, because Broadway in Chicago has to sift through all of its dates and the ramifications of COVID itself. But we're all intending to make sure it happens once we get on the other side of COVID.
Okay, great. And speaking of intentions, let me just be perfectly clear about what mine are. Acting Studio asked me to do a webinar series about what I do, teaching acting, inspiring actors. And, you know, there've been a lot of these workshops that we do with casting directors and other people in the industry to keep people in shape and in tune while there's no work happening. And I said, I don't want to do that because I feel like there are more important things going on right now. And I thought maintaining yourself and your art and being kind to yourself and self-care as an artist was really important. And now is a good time to take stock and meditate on what you want as an artist and what kind of work you want to say as an artist. So that's what last week was for. And the next 4 weeks are a series dedicated to the other part of what I think we're going through after Corona is social justice and standing up for Black lives. But what's also important is to stand up for Black art. And and I really appreciate that so many people who maybe weren't vocally this way before are now anti-racist. And with being anti-racist, that means you're anti-hate. And if you're anti-hate, that means you're pro-love. And so in the spirit of pro-love, I wanted to use this forum as a way to showcase Black arts that I love and that I support and that I believe in and I believe are a major contribution to communities of people of color. And so I wanted to showcase that, and starting, of course, from home with Deeply Rooted, I wanted to showcase this. So and everyone out there that's listening right now, it's so wonderful, and thank you so much for the work that everybody's doing, and for my BIPOC people out there. If you are pursuing joy, that in itself is a form of protest, so I encourage that as well. But if you are looking for a charity to donate to, and there are all kinds of wonderful Black Lives Matter movements to donate to, Black art also matters, and I encourage you to go ahead and donate to deeplyrootedtheater.org, and you can make a donation. And on behalf of Acting Studio Chicago and myself, we've already gotten the ball rolling with a $250 donation right now, so please join us and send what you can. Any amount doesn't matter. It'd be really great to have that support. So those are my intentions, just so we're perfectly clear.
Well, thank you for that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this being I know that we're feeling the same thing in the theater world as well as in the dance world. It'd be one thing if like my career stopped and everybody else's kept going, but I feel like we're all like cryogenically frozen in this weird nebulous or almost like a mosquito in prehistoric rosin. And I know that when we come out of this on the other end, we'll have learned so many things, and we'll have a whole different way that we approach the work and that we engage with not only our art, but also our communities. And it's interesting because when you formed Deeply Rooted back in 94, 95, it was at the time of another pandemic that was happening, the AIDS crisis. And I wonder for you, if you see a similar kind of stance that people are in, where I feel like people have like lost touch with, because I feel like we're in the situation we are right now because of people's lack of connection to their own sense of morality and their own sense of human dignity. And because we're morally and spiritually bankrupt, that's how we are in the state that we're in right now, or the leaders of this country anyway. Do you feel like there was something similar happening back in 94, 95 with the backdrop of the AIDS crisis and that pandemic as to what you're seeing now?
That's an interesting question. I think my whole journey, I've been aware that we're living in a time where whenever you have people marginalized in systems of power that deliberately does that to maintain power, I think then you always have, I think viruses are a physical epidemic, but then there's always been in my consciousness a spiritual epidemic.
Mm.
And I think that the manifestation of AIDS was really just about the challenge of people, again, being slowed down enough to deal with the emotional and spiritual impact of losing people, of death, and of sickness, to become aware of the impact that has, or what that points to in terms of our society. You know, so I think the African American journey in America, you know, it began by being enslaved. There was a history prior to that, which is not recorded and not taught, where Africans traveled to the Americas well before Columbus.
The human diaspora.
Yeah, the human diaspora, exactly. You know. But if we're talking about the founding of the years that led to the founding of America, we're talking about slavery. We're talking about then when slavery ended, we went into Reconstruction, and then after Reconstruction, we went into Jim Crow. After Jim Crow, we went into just all aspects of an evolution of people, fighting for freedom, but also a system of oppression. So I was born in 1959, so I grew up into that system. And so I've always been just present of the challenge of having to live a fulfilled life in an environment of oppression, So I'm a happy guy. I have a beautiful and wonderful life, but I'm present to the fact that we are on a human journey to really understand the value of each other.
Yeah.
So I think that, yes, there's commonality between what happened in the AIDS epidemic, but there's something different here, what's happening right now, in that I believe that there's a time factor that's beyond us. There's a time factor that's connected to the energies of creation, and that we're now at a point where there is a transition of consciousness that is happening whether we like it or not. Okay, and we have the opportunity to really be paused, okay, and to be reflective spiritually, and to let the spiritual understandings that the pause brings us affect our intellect, and to have our intellect begin to affect our choices so we can be working towards really a better humanity. So I don't think we were there during the AIDS epidemic. I think we were just trying to survive AIDS and just kind of find a cure and then get back to the kind of the values that we were living at that time that were more based in materialism and all of that. And while we still have those values, I think those values are falling apart right now. And beginning to seek something else, something perhaps deeper and more substantial. And so that, I think, is what I recognize as being a little different. We're going to have a rough way to go because it's going to be challenging. And even though now I think a lot of people are focused on social justice, it's not a temporary journey. It's not a quick fix.
Right.
So if you're in it for the long haul and you pay attention to the energies of creation and what's happening, then I think we're going to be ushering in some difficult years, but on the other side of those difficult years, we're going to have some beautiful possibilities.
I love that. And that sounds to me like you're hopeful, but you're also conscious and aware of what the reality is. How do you manage, because I feel like for a lot of my friends, for a lot of people of color, there's a lot of rage, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, because when you're constantly trying to convince people that you are human and that you deserve dignity, it's exhausting. And that's pretty much what a lot of people are feeling right now. They're just tired, tired of seeing this, tired of having to go through this. So when you're so exhausted and you're so just beat down by this system, literally and metaphorically, how do you manage to find that hope and that connection to that spiritual connection that you're talking about? It seems, I think, for a lot of people, rather intangible, and even just the realm of the spirit seems like lofty, like you're drawing at, air. So I know that for you and I, that the spirit is something that is actually very tangible and very practical. So would you mind, please, just trying to elaborate a little bit on how you see it as being something directly practical and connected to this struggle that we're going through right now?
Yeah, I think we all need to go in to really understand who we are and what our divine connection is to creation. When I think of Jesus, for instance, I've never experienced Jesus as this omnipotent figure that I couldn't aspire to become, if you will. All right. I think the magnificence of prophets is the fact that they are human beings that evolve to their extraordinary heights, that really tap into their genius, and they make an impression on the world that is eternal. Okay. So when I think of Jesus, I think of a man who understood that he was of God and connected to God's energy. And there was no middleman necessary. You know, he had a direct connection through prayer, meditation, through understanding his place, his value in society, and plugging into that energy with humility and letting that energy guide his righteousness. And I think that that's why he affected so many lives and people speak of him today. I think the same way about Buddha. I think the same way about Muhammad, that creation gives us prophets in every part of the world that helps us understand who we are better.
Amen.
And the key is for us to understand the prophets within ourselves. Okay? A prophet is not something that's up here. A prophet is something that's is just understanding the value of your Genesis, your genius. The first book of the Bible is Genesis, which points us to our genius. And if we go within and we understand that our cellular makeup comes from our parents and then their parents and then their parents, and it goes back and it goes back and it goes back to the beginning of creation, then we realize that everything that we really need to know is within us. And that our job is to peel away the ego, the worry, the doubt, the fear, the racial constructs, so that you don't let yourself be burdened by those things that are designed to inhibit you. So as a Black person, as a proud and happy and fulfilled Black person, I realize that I am a human being.
Amen.
You know, and that the construct of race was put in place to manipulate power. The construct of race was put in place because people are feeling insecure about something within themselves.
Amen. Amen.
And so when you focus on the real origins of creation, and you understand the human diaspora, and you understand how connected we all are, then you can put aside the things that feel so oppressive, because you know that those are temporary. In the scheme of things, in the scheme of time, the vastness of time, the time that we're dealing with this is really minute and temporary. And, and there's something else that we're going to get onto. It may not be fully apparent in my lifetime.
Right.
In my lifetime, I'm committed to working towards those goals, towards that goal. And I'm committed to having joy when I do it.
Amen. Oh, I love it, Iega. Such beautiful, beautiful words. This idea that that you're talking about, there's a pursuit of oneself, and you mentioned something to the effect of the divine that is in all of us. And there's something that I like to say to my students and to myself, and that is, dreams aren't dumb. Dreams are very important when we're talking about who we are and connecting to the eternal, connecting to the divine. Because I feel like even if you don't reach those goals, but if you have a dream, well, first of all, if you can formulate a dream, that's step one. Because a lot of people think that they don't deserve one, or that dreams are dumb, and they're not. But the pursuit of the dream, not necessarily the achievement of a dream, but the pursuit of it, the trajectory, it brings us closer towards our true divinity. And like, you know, a meteor or a ball of light, as we pursue it and we gain heat, we gain traction, all of those things that you're talking about, the insecurity, the fear, and I would add on living in scarcity, like that's gonna fall away, and we move closer towards abundance and compassion. And I love that you mentioned not only Jesus, but Buddha and Muhammad and all these other prophets, because when we talk about these virtues of compassion, kindness, forgiveness, love, they're not exclusive to any one religion. They're found in every religion that you can see out there. And back to Christ, I mean, he was a humanist, if anything. And so many people who are touting being the Christian right or the Christian anything really are not operating under any kind of Christian virtues at all. So it's lovely to hear you talk of the Spirit and you talk of virtue, and you talk of this human dignity in a way that rekindles something that is eternal. And I love that as well, that the idea that this is something that we're all connected to.
Yeah.
And you don't need anybody to tell you that, like, it's wrong to hurt somebody,
Right.
or it's wrong to be a mean jerk face. Like, that's very, very clear, you know, like they're just things that we don't do. And in my community where I grew up on the West Side in Cicero, you know, if there was a little kid that was running out into the street and about to get hit by a car, it doesn't matter if that's your kid or not. You grab that kid by the back of the shirt, you bring him to his mom's house and be like, look at Jose was about to get smashed by a truck. And then mom's gonna be like, thank you. And then grab him and give him a whooping on his butt and make sure that he doesn't do that, because they're all our children. You know, each of these communities is ours. So with that, deeply rooted, and you in your work, even before then, you've always been committed to engagement with your community, and not in a lofty, like superficial, we're gonna say that so we can get grant money way, but you really do the work. So many of these arts institutions where I have friends of color that only work at white institutions, and that's great. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I believe that art is for everyone, and art is essential. And you have always not even said that as much as you do that in your work, because you've served communities on the South Side and in the West Side, and you know that it's our young people. So I was wondering if you could just share a little bit of your philosophy of why is engaging the youth so important to you?
Because I was young once. Because I was young once, and someone gave me the opportunity to fulfill my dreams. You know, I would not be doing what I'm doing had it not been for Bernice Johnson making a scholarship available for me to study dance. You know, and when she gave me that opportunity, the very first thing she said to me was, "Don't thank me." She said, "If you want to thank me, I want you to, when you leave here and you go on to become successful in what you choose to do, I want to make sure that you know about your responsibility to reach back and take someone's hand and move and take them forward with you." And she said, that's the commitment that I ask of all my students. And there in the tradition of Bernice Johnson Dance Studio, that was a very vital tradition. So not only did the school train me, but I had stewards who helped me come into this field with consciousness, with Black consciousness, with human consciousness, because BJ was unapologetic about truth. Unapologetic about truth. And as artists, what we tend to do, how we become socialized in this system, is that the criteria that we take on is the criteria that we're given for success in America. You know, it looks like you're famous. It looks like you're rich. It looks like you're well-funded. And in order to get those perks, so to speak, you begin to develop relationships with people, and sometimes people ask you to compromise yourself as you develop those relationships. But that's our issue. You know, when we go into the field, we have to be clear about what our values are, and what success really looks like for you personally, and for your endeavors, and for the voice that you want to be communicating as an artist. So I think if we want to see a better world, it's very simple. We have to invest in young people, you know? And people did that for me. And that's that's a very passionate part of my mission. With that, I also want to say, in order to invest in young people, we have to invest in old people. In order to invest in young people, we have to invest in middle-aged people. You know, in order to invest in young people, okay, we have to invest in, you know, the 20s and the 30s, and be inside of a conversation that is, what is the word for all of the ages? That is
multi-generational.
Multi-generational. Yes,
Yeah.
there it is. It left my brain for a minute, but we have to engage in community building that is multi-generational. Community building that just focuses on youth is not effective. Community building that is multi-generational. Yeah.
Amen. And that, just to highlight the organization a little bit more, Deeply Rooted has, I was a beneficiary, I can never remember which one, but I benefited.
And a benefactor with your contributions.
That's beneficiary, because I was one of the, I was the first class, the first generation of the youth ensemble with a chance to dance. And I auditioned and got a full scholarship. And then after 6 months, I was moved up into the second company. And for 25 years, this youth ensemble has existed. And this is really part of the fabric and the network of what makes Deeply Rooted what it is. So not only can you audition to be part of the company, but this youth ensemble is used as a ground for grooming artists into the company. And likewise, people of all ages are important and vital to the arts and to this community engagement. And you also have a program called Hot Women, right?
Yeah, mature hot women. Mature, hot women. So that's mature, healthy, optimistic, and triumphant women. And what I love about the class is that not only do they dance and they move their beautiful bodies and they embrace their beautiful selves, but the class is designed to engage in dialogue, is to really sit down and talk about what's happening in each of their lives. And through that process, the women have developed such beautiful connections, and it's so nurturing because whenever I teach that class, and I don't get to teach it enough as much as I used to teach it, but every time I go in, I feel like I'm standing before my mother and my grand and my aunt, because women, they just have that nurturing, lovely thing, which balances male energy. And so standing in that room with those women and seeing their love for each other and feeling that their love to me, and to everyone that they embrace in that space, it's a fantastic thing. And they've become such a great force for the company, because so many women have come out of the program and that are now in positions of leadership. We have Jane Brownlee, who's our board chair, and she's an incredible board chair and passionate and committed to the work. We have Susan Trice, who's our fiscal manager. She's been our fiscal manager for 4 or 5 years, and she does a stellar job. She's so incredible. So when we talk about the arts, okay, not only are we talking about stellar people in professional presentations, yeah, that's fantastic, but more than that, we're talking about stellar people that rise to excellence because they're inspired by the arts in their lives. So I think that that's the missing link for the next level of evolution of this country, of this world, is that the arts is so critical. The arts connects to the sciences connects to who we are and how we engage with each other as people through the arts, and that helps us become a better citizenry, and that helps us make a better world.
Amen. I believe going to college and getting a liberal arts degree used to be with the intention to do just that, to make you a more worldly person. You would study philosophy, you'd study the classics, you'd study, math and science. You get all of these things so you could be a more well-rounded person. And the arts were always a part of it. Now we go to college and get a bachelor's degree just so we can make more money. You can't get a job unless you have the entry-level bachelor's degree. And of course, that's part of being a capitalist system.
Yeah, we're plugging our purpose directly into material gain, and not understanding that we should, I think, this is my humble opinion, that we're more empowered if we understand our purpose in life, okay? Because everything has to be balanced. You have the spiritual, you have the intellectual, you have the physical, and you have the material, okay? You have all those degrees. And I try to live my life where it's the spiritual, where I find what my purpose is, why I'm here, and I process that through my intellectual process. And then I manifest that in my physical being and also in my choice for my career, how it is I'm going to make a living, essentially. If you listen to interviews with successful people, if you listen to, oftentimes what I find they say is that I just followed my heart. I did what was really passionate. And if you trust that and if you don't doubt it, sometimes we say, oh, I'm not sure because I don't know if dancing is practical, if I'll be able to make a living. If you're passionate about it, if you must do it, it will figure itself out. As long as you're disciplined and intentional, it will figure itself out. You have to take action. It's not just about you know, you have to do understand, and then take action. And then if you do that, you'll be guided to whatever your bounty is.
That's
so
beautiful.
when we cancel out the study of humanity, the study of who we are as human beings, and we say, okay, I've got to do the practical thing. I'm going to become a lawyer because I know I got to make money, or I'm going to become an actor because I want to be famous, or whatever those things are. It's misdirected because it's ultimately not going to connect to our genius and why we're actually here.
And our true divinity.
Our true divinity, exactly.
Yeah. That's excellent. I love how you broke that down, and from the spiritual to the intellectual to the physical and the material, and how that manifests itself. We talked a little bit about the connection that we have in the spirit realm to all of the other things. No matter what you believe, no matter what dogma or religion, there's always something a part of being human that is ephemeral. As a species, we've never been able to lock it down. It's never been like the Christians are like, ha, we got it, we figured it out. Or the Jews are like, no, we got it right. You know, nobody has ever been proven which religion is right. But we can, as a species, agree that there's something about us. And I think the two things that have always been so enigmatic to human beings is love and God, and those two concepts. But we always, forever, have argued about it and the definition of it, and used it as, especially love, as the cause of so many wars and fights and things. And yet it's the thing that also can connect us all. So it's a really interesting thing to, depending on how you use it, what happens.
And that's why we're here. You know, that's why we're on earth. That's why we have these lives, is because we are imperfect. And inside of the imperfection, we're here to seek perfection. The seeking of the perfection generates more imperfection. You know, so the whole thing is about us evolving. That's why when I look at our political leadership, and I am disappointed in many ways with the leadership that we have. But if you look at the karmic ramifications of things, I'm not surprised with the leadership that we have. Okay, and also if the leadership that we have are still human beings, you know, even if
really?
even if they seem like they're not, they are human beings, and we as an electorate, well, they manipulated the election. You know, I don't think we really put that guy in office. Okay. But I do think that guy is a symptom of what it is we're experiencing, and a symptom of what it is we need to experience. Okay, you know, that guy has, through his inaction, that guy through his racism, that guy through his ignorance, that guy who was raised by his father in an environment that created that guy. Okay. That guy is doing what he knows to do, whether we believe it's righteous or not. He's behaving in the full weight of his humanity. And we put him in office. Okay, and not only have we put him in office, but we're sitting back when he lies to us constantly. You know, we put the people in office that are supposed to hold him accountable, and then we're sitting back when he lies to us daily, he and his administration. That said more to me about us and more to me about our complacency, more to me about what it is I am responsible for as a citizen, and what it is I need to do to make a difference.
Amen. Do you feel, I often feel that, you know, the American ideal and the American virtues used to be, you know, rooted in the idea of the underdog, the individual against great odds, triumphing, the triumph of the human spirit, you know, that kind of thing. But I feel like our collective American virtue has been bastardized to the virtues of me, mine, now, more. And
Well,
so
yeah,
Trump is a direct reflection of what those virtues are rather than he's opposed to what we are.
yeah, I agree with you. I just want to give context to one thing that you said. I think America's virtues were defined by that through a white lens only for white people, for white supremacy. And yet America built this country on the backs of Black people, okay, on the backs of Native people, in terms of, you know, just you know, that's a whole story that we need to embrace and be in dialogue more about as well. You know, that, so yes, these virtues, you know, but these virtues were predestined, if you will, in their minds to be for white folk only.
Right.
And so the challenge, the challenge that America has is that creation will not stand for that, okay? That people are not going to allow themselves to be marginalized. It's just that simple. I have no interest in living, being marginalized, and I don't need permission from white people to tell me, from white supremacist people to give me validation. You know, whether it, you know, your funding doesn't validate me. I'm thankful. I'm grateful for it, and I believe we deserve it because our ancestors invested in this country and were never paid for the work. That a lot of the foundations are now are disseminating. You know, so the context in terms of understanding the value of these relationships, these human relationships, that I've always strived to have inside of my work, so that it doesn't diminish me as a person or diminish my community or doesn't diminish a white person, because I think white people are damaged by racism also.
Yeah.
And I think that we all just need to pull back the layers and really stay focused on truth. Get the truth and stay focused on truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Kevin Iega, Your Funding Doesn't Validate Me, Jeff, speaking on really, really great stuff and wisdom. And I just want to open this up. We've got just a little bit more time before we got to wrap things up. So if you are following along, if you've just joined us, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Iega, go ahead and put it in the Q&A, and I'll go ahead and share that with Iega. But honestly, I don't think we'll get to it because we got so much juicy stuff to talk about and very little time left to do it. And if you would like to, again, donate to Deeply Rooted, that website again it's in the chat, and it's deeplyrootedtheater.org, and theater spelled E-R, not the pretentious way. So the spirit, this is what, this is such good stuff. And like I warned you, Iega, we could talk about anything for hours. And we didn't even get into all of the beautiful people at Deeply Rooted that I love and miss. And Gary Abbott, I love you. And Linda Spriggs and Dr. Elena Anderson, congratulations. I love all of you. And we'll just have to have our own separate Kiki just to get down on that love. But the spirit, you've talked about how we're all connected, and you've talked about how we can incorporate it from our spiritual place to our intelligence to our physical, and then manifesting it in the material. What is the way, you've mentioned before, I served on a panel with you for creating new funding in the city, and you said something really profound to me and to the entire group about bringing that spiritual self and that spiritual consciousness, not just to your practice in the creation of art, but into your boardrooms and into the way that you engage with your staff and into the way that you engage with your community. Within 7 minutes or less, can you explain and just give kind of examples of how that is accomplished, and maybe tying that into the American ideal, which you said was one created by white supremacists? What is the Black American ideal? I know that's two questions, so feel free to divide them up as you will.
Oh, Esteban. Well, you know, the American ideal is shaped by ancestors that are represented by the Great Pyramid of Giza that sits on the back of the American seal. Okay? So that's there for a reason, and I just want to say that America is a great achievement in so many ways, yet it's born out of a historic continuum. Okay, America is born out of a historic continuum, and that continuum did not originate in Europe only. Okay, and that's evidenced by the Great Pyramid of Giza that is positioned on the reverse side of the American seal. And if you understand the history, and if you understand why that is there, and you unpack that as a Black person, and you understand your connection to that history that has been misrepresented throughout European history, you know, but if you get to the truth of it from an African scholarship, contextual understanding of that history, and understand how it informs the history that we have here in America, then you will find your place in this American journey. Okay? Yeah. What was the other part of your question?
The other one was bringing the spirit into other realms outside of creation of art.
Yeah. That, you know, when you go into a room or into an audition and you feel like you have something to prove, and you want people to like you, or you want people to want your idea or to believe in what you believe in, to the extent where you are outside of yourself, you know, you don't feel like you're one with yourself. That's a very disempowered place to be. I think the key is to again know who you are, know the value, and pray and meditate and practice each day to bring that energy, to walk in your truth with whomever stands before you, with whomever you meet with. Okay? And by doing that, you're going to attract the energy and the people that are meant for you. Everyone is not your people. A friend told me that once, and I love that. She said, everyone ain't your people, you know? So you may want a certain people because they look a certain way, or they have a certain asset or whatever, but if you are meeting with that energy and it's not right, you have to trust it when your spirit tells you that it's not right. Don't try to push it. You can always try to build a bridge. I'm not saying, you know, that sometimes I've met people and it's really about building relationship and understanding, and that's something that needs to happen over time. But you need to bring your authentic self to the relationship so that it results with authentic results.
That's wonderful. I really have very little to add to that, other than I know that people are fighting and working for social justice and social change. And even within these groups, there are different groups, there are different factions, and so even with, you know, MLK and Malcolm X, they were working for the same thing, but had very different approaches. So I feel also to that end that there are, you may disagree, everybody may not be your people, but you can also have the same common goal. And even though people go about doing it differently, you can agree that, racism is not good and we need to squash it. Like let's keep our eye on the prize. We do have one question that came up from Leonard Perez. Well, actually, we have a little love. Just want to thank you for this conversation. I love you, Iega. William Gill. And then from Leonard Perez, he wants to know, how can dancers explore and channel more of their spirituality through dance? And I'll take this one and I'll say, just sign up for the Deeply Rooted professional training program, and that will definitely give you an insight to what we're talking about.
Leonard did that. Leonard studied with us. Hey, Leonard.
Oh,
thanks for your question. I just think decide that you want it and then pray and meditate and ask creation to direct you to the energies that will help you grow like you have grown. Leonard, I know you and I know that you are on that path. And I think that you're very intentional about it, and just continue to do that.
Yeah, and what I've learned from Deeply Rooted and throughout my life, my practice, has been to surround yourself with the things that you love and the people that love you. So as long as I'm around, I'm gonna keep pulling you around me, Iega, because I love you. And I'm so excited to have you here. And thank you for this really incredibly informative chat that we've had. You should see the comments from people. It's been really inspirational to everyone out there. And I just want to thank Kevin Iega Jeff and Deeply Rooted Dance Theater. Again, you can go to their webpage, deeplyrooteddancetheater.org, make a donation, support this organization and this institution that has been invested in these communities for 25 years.
Hey.
And this is a company that we cannot see going away with the pandemic, and they're not going to go away, but let's show them some support and let's show them some love. Iega, thank you so much for being here. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Esteban. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah! Okay, well, good night, everyone. Have a lovely evening, and we'll see you real soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.